Not only is it imperative to carefully plan the first day of school, but the first month of school can set the foundation for a successful school year if a teacher spends ample time teaching behavior. The following content showcases considerations for this very important time. Students will truly learn your expectations only when you continue the three-step communication process we previously learned about for 2 or 3 weeks consistently. Begin each activity and transition with a lesson on the expectations. Observe student performance of the behaviors during the activity or transition, and give positive and corrective feedback during and after the activity or transition to both individuals and to the class as a whole. Whenever a particular activity or transition has not gone as smoothly as you would have hoped for, plan to use the three-step process to reassert your expectations. A good rule of thumb is that if more than 3 students have not been meeting the expectations, plan on reteaching your expectations to the entire class. If only 1, 2, or 3 students are having problems, focus the reteaching process on those individuals. You will continue utilizing the three-step process of communicating your expectations throughout the first month of school. To review, the first step is to teach your expectations. The second step is to observe the student behavior. And the third step is to provide feedback during and immediately after the activity. The process will repeat in a cycle, again with the beginning of the next class activity or transition. For the first several days of school, frequently review with students your attention signal and your expectations for student behavior when you give the signal. Conduct a brief time check whenever you give your signal, and if students respond with silence, stillness, and attention within 5 seconds, thank them for their cooperation. For several days, provide frequent positive feedback to students for following the signal. If students are taking too long to respond to the signal, provide additional instruction and practice opportunities. Teaching students how to behave during independent work periods can be difficult. Working independently seems to be especially hard for students when their teacher is engaged in another activity, such as teaching a small reading group. You will need to teach your students how to function without direct supervision. Plan on spending at least 3 days rehearsing this scenario with students. Class, at this time each day, I will be working with a group of students over here. Most of you will be at your seats working individually. Today, I will be walking around to help you if you need it. I will be commenting about how well you are working. Usually, I will not be able to do this because I will be busy with students in a small group, and you will need to either wait or ask someone at your table quietly for help. After 3 days of rehearsal of this scenario, spend another 2 to 4 days of finish what you know and then come back to anything you are not sure of. Specialists may be in a unique and difficult position in terms of teaching their behavior expectations. In many cases, these specialists see all students in a school building for a short period of time a week. Specialists will need to provide all classroom teachers with a written explanation of their expectations for the classroom teacher to review prior to visiting specials with the class. There should be a formal and public transfer of authority from the classroom teacher to the specialist, as well as a review of behavior upon departure from the special's classroom. The procedures should be implemented for at least the first 3 to 4 times a class visits a special's classroom, and reviewed as necessary. Be prepared to teach your expectations to any new students who enter your class throughout the school year. Also be prepared to develop and teach all students your expectations for any unique events that may occur. The first 2 weeks are the most important time for teaching behavioral expectations and classroom routines. However, most of you will experience some degree of flux in your student population over the course of the year. Depending on your school's rate of mobility, it is essential that all teachers have developed some sort of orientation to get new students off to a successful start. Some schools have a formal orientation through student services. Teachers should check with the counselor or student services personnel to align teaching expectations for new students. The most common and basic method of orienting a new student into your classroom is to simply teach the new student your expectations yourself. The advantage of this approach is that it generates frequent contact between you and the new student during his or her first week of school. The disadvantage is that it is often time-consuming and not easily replicated in the event that another new student arrives soon after. Pairing this approach with another method may be best if mobility is high. If you have to orient a new student to your class, take this as an opportunity to go over behavior expectations with the class as a whole. For one day, immediately before and after each activity or transition, ask students to volunteer information about expected behaviors and procedures. If the students leave out essential information, be sure to add it in yourself. With the procedure of utilizing a buddy system, you give individual class members the responsibility of orienting new students to the routines and procedures of the class. Take time in the second or third week to talk to students about how you may call on them individually to help orient a new student. Be mindful to not always use the same student. Rotate through your class list as the year progresses. We need to ensure that students have the knowledge and skills to behave in a manner that you consider responsible during unique events. Thus, specifically preparing for and teaching around these types of occurrences will increase the students' chances of success. As soon as you are made aware that your students will participate in a special event that calls for new or modified behavioral expectations, you need to start defining and teaching those expectations. Find out about the nature of the event, including the major situations, and define your expectations for student behavior during the event. Find unique ways to teach the expectations, which may include modeling, role-playing, or integrating a video or story. A brief orientation the day before the event may be helpful to engage in through a thorough review of the expectations and to provide a chance for students to ask questions if they might have them.